American Horror Story Season 6 is finally here. We've been waiting for it for months. We're freaking out. We wanted to know what the theme was, and now we know the theme of Season 6 is... we don't know, but we're going to break that down as well as all of the big moments, talk about tons of spoilers on today's American Horror Story story. Stay tuned. All right, Sadie, American Horror Story Season 6 is finally here, and I think it's fair to say it wasn't what anybody expected. We're going to get into spoilers in a second, but you've been fan of the show, watcher of the show for a good long while, so you're very familiar with it. Based on one episode, what do you think about how they changed everything up?
I think the worst thing that anything in the horror genre can be is predictable. So, I really applaud Ryan Murphy for doing something that I don't think any of the fans, and certainly myself, saw coming. I think that's really impressive 6 seasons in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what they were going with. But let's actually dive into what it was. Let's put up that spoiler alert right now. There we go. Hello, spoiler alert. Hi. So instead of the typical horror show story format, it was a story within a story. It was a documentary with a bunch of talking heads. How'd you feel about it? And for those who didn't watch it, break it down.
I loved it. The whole episode kicked off right away with this fake show, my Roanoke nightmare, with half the cast doing these straight-to-camera confessionals, and then the other half of the cast actually playing those characters in sort of cheesy reenactments. And as a fan of those shows in real life, I thought this was really fun and unexpected. I have no idea where it's going.
Right. I think I was watching Twitter during the episode, and I think a lot of people thought this was going to be the format every episode, that we were going to have a different mystery that got delved into, like some sort of ID show or true TV show or something like that. But clearly not. It's ongoing. So by the end, everybody had that very typical American Horror Story action of, huh? What's happening? But that said, it tied into a bigger mythology with Roanoke and Croatoan. What exactly is going on there? There's a bunch of weird guys that showed up at various points. Sadie, you're our historical expert, dressed like a pilgrim, so explain it to us.
Yeah, I like to go with the theme, even though Ryan Murphy clearly didn't this season. But for those who don't know, the Lost Colony of Roanoke was basically a group of 117 settlers who completely just disappeared in 1590. No one knows what happened to these fine folk right here. The only clue was the word Croatoan carved into a tree. And we knew this was coming this season because TMZ had leaked set photos, but I don't really know what to make of it. It looks like these ghost pilgrims are haunting the Roanoke area now.
Yeah, well, I think we'll talk a little later about exactly what's going on at the end of the episode. But this also ties into previous seasons, right? Croatoan and Roanoke have shown up before.
Yeah, in season 1, Billy Dean Howard told Violet this whole story about how all the settlers had died and a Native American chief banished them from the area using the word Croatoan. However, when Violet tried to use the same spell on Zachary Quinto's character, it didn't work. And so, based on last night's episode, I don't think it really worked that well the first time either. They definitely still seem to be around.
Yeah, I think at the very least somebody needs to tweet at Sarah Paulson and be like, just shout Croatoan at them, see what happens. Let's talk about fave moments, because there were so many crazy, ridiculous, over-the-top moments, of course, in this episode of American Horror Story. My favorite, without a doubt, was the tooth rain. So Sarah Paulson hears something outside. She looks out the window. She's like, oh, it's hail. They mentioned there were hurricanes in the area. Let me go outside and check out what exactly is going on. Let me see what's happening here. And it turns out it's raining teeth.
I loved it.
Oh, I laughed out loud when this happened. I thought this was maybe it was supposed to be crazy, but I thought it was really funny and ridiculous and an awesome visual.
It's like my dream. I have a weird obsession with teeth. So if it rained teeth, I would be out in the yard scooping them all up.
Oh God, Sadie, let's stop doing the show immediately. Well, let's talk about your favorite moment, which is another super creepy moment that there's a lot to delve into with. He's not called Pig Man.
Piggy Man.
Piggy Man.
I love Piggy Man. He's so weird and unnecessary, and I don't know if this is actually going to go anywhere. But he seems to be stalking them from the shadows and then Dennis O'Hare was previously like hunting him down on like an old VHS camera.
Yeah, just to mention, if you guys go back to the beginning of the episode, right before they put up the American Horror Story title at the beginning, you can kind of see some sort of figure checking out Sarah Paulson and Cuba Gooding Jr.'s characters, and we think that's Piggy Man. We're pretty sure that's Piggy Man, though we don't know yet. Could be Lady Gaga. Who knows? Definitely, this is one of the aspects of the episode that doesn't seem to connect yet, and maybe it never will.
You know, I really don't know with this show. Sometimes there are the plots like Anne Frank and the lobotomy that really don't go anywhere or mean anything, but are kind of just like fun for a couple episodes. And if there's a guy running around with a pig head only for like 2-3 episodes, I'm cool with that.
Oh, that's great. You're very open. I like that. Let's talk about one last thing. Again, this is something that was kind of surprising to see, but there were a bunch of wood figures hung first around the house, and then in the last scene, these are the figures from Blair Witch, right?
This is straight up, they wandered into the set of the Blair Witch Project, and then during commercial breaks, they actually showed an ad for the Blair Witch movie, I think. It was either genius product placement or we're gonna get some weird connections to old school witchcraft. I have no idea.
So what I wonder if this in any way ties into the whole TV format thing that's going on with it, that because there is the show within a show, maybe the makers of My Roanoke Nightmare are using imagery from other horror movies to remind us of stuff, but that's just me maybe giving them too much credit and they just ripped off Blair Witch. I don't know.
Maybe in this world, the Blair Witch is real.
That would be amazing. I would love that. All right, well, let's talk about that ending. We teased this before, but in about 2 minutes, a couple of crazy, insane things happened to Sarah Paulson. She ran over Kathy Bates with a car. For some reason, followed Kathy Bates into the woods, even though she was a pilgrim ghost or whatever. The ground started shaking. A guy ran up screaming, scalped, and then a bunch of pilgrims showed up.
And Wes Bentley.
Oh, and Wes Bentley. Well, I think he was one of the pilgrims. He was tied to the pilgrims, maybe?
He was like the pilgrim leader.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what do you think's going on here? What's happening? You have a
I have
theory.
theories.
Yeah.
I have so many theories. So before the season aired at all, Lady Gaga said her character was very grounded and connected to the earth. So I'm like 99% sure that like she was the earth breathing there. She's some sort of like
God, that's so creepy.
goddess or spirit.
Don't look, Sarah Paulson.
But yeah, I think she's some sort of like earth spirit or monster that like actually gets to like sort of be earth and also a demon, and maybe that's who the pilgrims are worshiping.
And that's why the ground is shaking and
Yes.
everything. Well, there was a promo that was released for maybe next week's episode, maybe a couple of episodes, like everything else with American Horror Story. We have no idea exactly what's going on. But there's a quick shot, I think, right after there. Oh, I'm standing in front of her.
Sorry,
I was right in front of her.
That was Gaga, I promise.
Yeah, but next to Kathy Bates in that shot was a lady covered in dirt, and everybody thinks she's Lady Gaga, which would back that theory up a lot.
You can also see in this trailer really quickly the sort of pilgrims spit roasting a Piggy Man. And so we think, or I think at least, that maybe that's sort of part of their ritualistic sacrifice, but maybe Piggy Man is both like a victim of the pilgrims, but also like a possible friend.
So you think maybe Piggy Man is a friendly ghost?
I don't know. I think maybe the guy who got scalped, they like threw a pig's head on him and are killing him. But maybe there's someone else who's also Piggy Man who like hates the pilgrims.
Here's what I
don't
think.
know. I want him to be the hero. He's my favorite character.
He showed up for 2 seconds and you already love him. That's wonderful. All right, guys, we're going to move on with our next section, which we call Connect the Dots. There we go. Oh, poor Sarah Paulson. Never, always the Siamese twin, never the something else. In Connect the Dots, we're going to talk about all the connections to different episodes, Easter eggs, etc. Let's talk about one. I thought this was kind of fun. It was such a silly moment. But Cuba Gooding Jr. is in his hotel room. He's a traveling salesman. And he looks over at the TV and he laughs at it a little bit. And it turns out to be car chase footage. What's going on here? What's the obvious connection, Sadie?
Well, Cuba played O.J. Simpson in Ryan Murphy's American Crime Story, and so this is like a great little Easter egg for fans of that, and he's probably watching the Bronco chase. And I loved it. Like, it was already great watching OJ and Marsha Clark have sex, and then watching OJ watch the Bronco chase was like a great little Easter egg.
Yeah, it would be. Do you think it would bring people's estimation of American Crime Story down if it turned out American Crime Story and American Horror Story took place in the same world? Or would they be like, that's great?
I don't even know how to answer that question.
All right, we'll table that one. One other connection, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the Croatoan thing, clearly that's going to play out in some way. Do you expect, are there going to be other connections to other seasons? Probably, right?
I think the whole plot so far is such a mirror image of Murder House, with this couple whose relationship is very strained, moving into a haunted house with ghost nurses, and also having just miscarried. I think there are way too many parallels to like sort of ignore that. But I also hope to see maybe some connections to Asylum, which was the best season in my opinion.
Well, we still have those alien robot spiders. I keep forgetting that. Alien robot spiders somewhere out there, so we'll have to stay tuned for that. And we'll have plenty more connections as the season goes on. But now, let's go to you guys. You guys have been sending in comments and questions, so we're going to do a little Q and We'll come up with better names next time. We'll see what happens. But you guys have been hitting us up on Facebook and Twitter, so let's go to a couple of those things now. So we asked, is it possible to be scared of a story when you know the main characters are alive?
No.
No?
This is my biggest problem with the format right now is if we are to believe that Shelby and Matt and Lee made it out of this whole ordeal alive and are giving interviews, there are no stakes. Maybe it's a Liz and Dick situation and they're doing interviews from heaven or the beyond. Maybe Sarah Paulson is reality and these are the actors hired to tell the story of people who have already died. I don't know where this is going, but I feel like there has to be a twist in order for this sort of story momentum and suspense to carry on.
Yeah, well, I would say Don on Twitter asks, what twist? Literally, what twist? Do you think, one of the things that I actually liked about the episode, and one of my frustrations with American Horror Story has always been that it's all over the place. It doesn't really seem to have a sense of focus over the course of the seasons a lot of the time. But here, what I liked about this episode was it was focused. It was pretty straightforward, relatively speaking. But you think they are going to twist it up as the season goes on?
I think they have to. I think maybe they'll break the fourth wall and we'll start to see the ghost pilgrims mess with Lily Rabe and Shelby in real time. Or I don't know. Like, they have to do something to take this to sort of like the next level a couple episodes in.
Yeah. Let's see. We asked you guys on Twitter, did the AHS6 theme live up to the hype? I'm going to read off a couple of responses. You can probably guess what they are. Hell no. Also, what theme? Let's pause on that one actually for a second. So what theme, what do you think the theme is? I mean, what do you think the actual title of the show is at this point? We were discussing this a lot this morning.
I have absolutely no idea. I don't think it's officially called American Horror Story My Roanoke Nightmare. That's a mouthful. It would not have fit when Jacob Artist covered it up on his Instagram post. I think they might reveal like a subtitle after the season is over. Like, Murder House didn't have a subtitle and that got retroactively named. And so maybe we won't really know what the official theme is until we've already finished the season.
All right. Slow start, but interesting, somebody said. Direction storytelling shift works in delivering much needed new tone for series. Any hype, audience fault if they didn't like it. What do you think? Was this overhyped? I mean, we've talked about there were 24 teasers, something like that.
Plus print, plus social videos. It was everywhere. I don't know if it was overhyped, but I definitely, they promised that there would be, you know, something at the end of this trail of breadcrumbs. And I don't really think they delivered on that. I want a theme. I want a subtitle. I want to know where this is going. And I feel like they're still sort of dragging us along on this little mystery ride.
Yeah, that said, I would say I really appreciate that they're able to keep something this big secret, I mean, technically through the first episode, but up until the premiere of the episode, because so many things get spoiled at this point that it was a mystery right up until the broadcast, I think, is great. We have time for one more question in our queue, and Tom on Facebook asked, though it's a little early to tell, how would you rank each season of AHS, and where do you think this season will fall?
Asylum, Murder House, Mystery Season 6, Coven, Hotel Freak Show? Freak Show and Hotel are real
Like
close for me.
Yeah, I feel like both of them had promise at certain points, but ultimately went all over the place, right?
No, yeah, Hotel above Freak Show because Hotel was beautiful. It was so gorgeous. I just like want to live at the Cortez. So that one gets to be above Freak Show.
All right, we'll have to revisit that throughout the season as we get more information and find out. For you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to American Horror Story. Story will be air every single week. And Sadie, anything you want to leave people with?
Stay spooky.